Wisecrack, Jared here, and today we're talking about the happiest show in the Netflix catalog, BoJack Horseman. With its colorful animation, talking animals, and Hollywood glamour, BoJack might look like your typical happy-go-lucky cartoon, but this is far from the case. The show's light-hearted veneer hides a dark and downright depressing reality, which is fitting given its focus on the disillusionment that inevitably comes when you look beneath the surface. BoJack reveals the ugly, narcissistic reality that lies behind the dazzling facade of Hollywood.
Most important thing is you gotta give the people what they want, even if it kills you, even if it empties you out until there's nothing left to empty.
From Mr. Peanut Butter's feigned interest,
I want to talk to you. Erica!
To studio executives only focused on money, to meaningless award ceremonies that only reward those with established names. In other words,
Hollywood's a real pretty town that's smack on top of all that black tar. By the time you realize you're sinking, it's too late.
But the show goes far deeper. Hollywood could be considered a metaphor for existence in general. Just like the facade of Hollywood covers up the reality of an ugly, hollow industry, the trappings of our daily lives cover up the meaninglessness of existence itself. This idea, known as existential nihilism, is foundational to BoJack Horseman. If life is truly meaningless, then how are we supposed to deal with it? Welcome to this Wisecrack Edition on the philosophy of BoJack Horseman. What does it know? Does it know things? Let's find out. But before we dive in, this Wisecrack Edition is sponsored by Best Fiends and the newest game in the Best Fiends trilogy, Best Fiends Forever. It's the same characters and story as before, but a totally different kind of game. An addictive clicker adventure where you slap, collect, and level up pretty much everything while trying to get as far as you can, as fast as you can. Also, something we really like, in addition to making crazy addictive games like this, Best Fiends gives back as a supporter of the charity Oceana, helping protect the world's oceans. So be sure to check out the new Best Fiends game. It's free and you can download it from the link below. Let us know how far you get, and thanks again to Best Fiends for sponsoring this video. Part 1. Distract yourself. A key way to cope with the anguish of a meaningless world is to simply distract yourself.
I just wanted to do something light and fun to distract me from the deep well of sadness that is my life.
Princess Carolyn persistently distracts herself with her job and her compulsive need to fix the life of those she cares about. Despite complaining about work dominating her life, she can't actually handle the free time that comes without it.
Are you gonna head out soon? Where else would I go?
When her agency folds, she finally has time for the relationship she always wanted, but still finds a way to get right back to the Hollywood grindstone.
I think I'm having an epiphany. I'm gonna be a manager!
Todd, BoJack's best friend and perpetual mooch, is happy so long as he has something to do.
Hooray! A task!
The one time we do see Todd without anything to do, he immediately starts to spiral into existential despair.
I need something to do. A job or a task or a direction in life. Do I have a purpose?
Before finding something to take his mind off it. Todd may not have much direction or common sense, but he manages to keep himself busy. He composes a space opera, builds his own Disneyland, and starts a number of businesses.
An All Hallows Eve store? In January? How fiendishly droll.
Similarly, Mr. Peanut Butter spends his life in a constant state of distraction. Though he may seem like a moron,
He's so stupid he doesn't realize how miserable he should be.
Mr. Peanut Butter is more self-aware than most.
The universe is a cruel, uncaring void. The key to being happy isn't to search for meaning, it's to just keep yourself busy with unimportant nonsense, and eventually you'll be dead.
And then there's BoJack. BoJack's whole life is a series of distractions. The way BoJack spends his days is so trivial that the show often makes a joke of not showing us what he's doing half the time.
Yeah, 2 days. I can do all those things. Oh shit, I didn't do any of those things.
In fact, in the years since horsing around, BoJack has been able to drift through life in a near constant state of distraction.
Horsing around? That ended 11 years ago.
Really? Where does the time go?
But in the first episode, BoJack has a mild anxiety attack that sends him to the hospital. The doctor tells him he needs to take it easier.
Take it easy? Are you kidding? He doesn't have a job. He has no real responsibilities. He doesn't do anything but take it easy.
The show asks a question commonly directed at celebrities. They have everything, so how could they not be happy?
Great house, great career, great life. That must be why I'm so goddamn happy all the time.
This question was addressed by 17th century philosopher Blaise Pascal, who is considered by many to be a precursor to the existentialists. For Pascal, when given too much time to think, humans will eventually contemplate their own insignificance, which inevitably bums them out. Or as Pascal puts it, I have discovered that all the unhappiness of men arises from one single fact, that they cannot stay quietly in their own chamber. I have found that there is one very real reason, namely the natural poverty of our feeble and mortal condition, so miserable that nothing can comfort us when we think of it closely. For Pascal, humans have a natural psychological defense mechanism that keeps these thoughts at bay. We're really easily distracted, and when we're distracted, we stop thinking about our existence and can be, if not happy, at least functional. Pascal directly addresses the unhappy celebrity question, though he uses kings instead of movie stars. Yet when we imagine a king attended with every pleasure he can feel, if he be without diversion and be left to consider and reflect on what he is, this feeble happiness will not sustain him. Like a king, BoJack has no serious struggle to occupy his life. Instead, he has to spend all of his time trying to distract himself so that he never has to think about the reality of his situation. Although he succeeds in doing this for years, the whole charade comes crashing down when he reads Diane's book, One Trick Pony. In the book, BoJack sees an honest reflection of himself, warts and all. He is forced to face all the things he really is and isn't, and to confront the extent of his self-deception.
I love the part about how you became famous so you could be constantly surrounded by distraction and wouldn't have to be alone with yourself.
So what should BoJack do now that his distraction has crumbled? For Pascal, once you've passed the critical point where diversion will no longer sustain you, the only recourse is to turn to God. But for BoJack, this isn't an option. It seems that Hollywood is a post-God is dead world. In the Christmas special, the show uses Santa Claus as a stand-in to discuss the non-existence of God.
He's a lie that grown-ups made up because we like to believe that there's an order to the universe and that good behavior will lead to happiness, but the fact is that just isn't true.
But if there's no God, where are we supposed to turn? For BoJack, the first choice is right back to distraction. The show provides two separate case studies of what happens when you try to force distraction after the illusion has been broken, and neither ends well. First, Secretariat gives a young BoJack advice that basically amounts to don't think about it.
BoJack, when you get sad, you run straight ahead and you keep running forward no matter what. There are people in your life who are going to try to hold you back, slow you down, but you don't let them. Don't you stop running, and don't you ever look behind you. There's nothing for you behind you. All that exists is what's ahead.
But once he's disqualified from racing and can no longer keep the thoughts at bay,
you can be the fastest runner in the world, but you can't outrun the truth.
The second case is Sarah Lynn. BoJack drags Sarah Lynn on a months-long bender that only ends when she ODs on, well, BoJack, the heroine, not the horse. Looking back on it, that might have been a bit on the nose. If trying to reclaim his distracted state is doomed to end in tragedy, what other options does BoJack have? Part 2, Radical Freedom. From the beginning, BoJack rejects responsibility.
I'm responsible for my own happiness. I can't even be responsible for my own breakfast.
He wants to escape the realities of his own terrible life choices.
I didn't do anything wrong because I can't do anything wrong. Everything is meaningless! Nothing I do has consequence!
After his first bender, BoJack asks Diane,
am I just doomed to be the person that I am? The person in that book?
I know that I can be selfish and narcissistic and self-destructive, but underneath all that, deep down, I'm a good person and I need you to tell me that I'm good.
BoJack is afraid of what 20th century French philosopher Jean-Paul Sartre called radical freedom, which was a major focus of his philosophy existentialism.
I stand by my critique of Sartre. His philosophical arguments helped many tyrannical regimes justify overt cruelty. Also, the French smell and I hate them.
If existentialism had a catchphrase, it would be existence precedes essence. An object's essence for Sartre can be thought of as its purpose. If I make a hammer, I create it with a particular purpose in mind, i.e. hammering. So we would say that the hammer's essence precedes its existence. For a Christian, a human is like a hammer, a tool created by God with a purpose in mind. But for an existential nihilist, humans, and horsemen, exist just because. Unlike a hammer or a Gentle Farms chicken, there's no purpose underlying BoJack's existence, and nothing that he's meant to do. There's nothing stopping BoJack from stealing the D from the Hollywood sign or doing 3 months worth of drugs. And on the flip side, there's nothing forcing him to do those things either. BoJack has total control over every choice he makes. This is what Sartre meant by radical freedom, and it's definitely not supposed to be comforting. That is what I mean when I say that man is condemned to be free. Condemned because he did not create himself, yet is nevertheless at liberty, and from the moment that he is thrown into this world, he is responsible for everything he does. Or as Diane and BoJack put it,
that's the thing. I don't think I believe in deep down. I kind of think all you are is just the things that you do.
Well, that's depressing.
There is no good BoJack deep down. There is only the one BoJack, and he is entirely defined by the choices he's made so far. Or as Todd puts it to BoJack at the end of season 3,
you are all the things that are wrong with you.
While this may not seem too comforting, it does offer BoJack one bit of hope. Yes, that means BoJack is defined by the choices he's made so far, but he's not doomed to be the person in that book forever. He has the freedom to change his actions and himself, but it's entirely up to him to do so.
It's never too late to be the person you want to be. You need to choose the life you want.
The show provides an optimistic take on Sartre by using water as a metaphor for BoJack's radical freedom. BoJack often finds himself overwhelmed by water, but at the end of the underwater episode in season 3, after falling from the ledge of the taffy factory, BoJack finally recognizes the water for what it is. Not an overwhelming and scary force, but instead a medium of incredible opportunity. Part 3. Embrace the absurd. When Mr. Peanut Butter's brother gets sick, he goes through his own existential crisis.
Come to work, clock in, you put sugar in your coffee and watch it slowly disappear into nothingness. But the sugar doesn't know why. Sugar didn't ask to be born.
But he doesn't suffer through it for very long.
I realized something today when my brother called from the hospital, and I think it's going to make you feel a lot better.
What? What is it?
None of this matters.
BoJack gets similar advice from his old writing partner and Harvard alum Cuddly Whiskers, who abandoned his Hollywood life.
An Oscar is meaningless. It's all meaningless.
And is finally able to find happiness.
Only after you give up everything can you begin to find a way to be happy.
Mr. Peanut Butter and Cuddly Whiskers' paths to happiness after or even because of the realization of nihilism invokes the 20th century French thinker Albert Camus and his philosophy of absurdism. For Camus, the universe is irrational and meaningless, and yet humans are desperate to find reason and meaning in it, and he calls this discrepancy the absurd. Once you become aware of the absurd, you only have 3 choices: return to the cycle of daily life and don't think about it, commit suicide, or his preferred option, rebellion, i.e. accept the absurd and be happy anyway, because screw the universe for thinking it can control how you feel. Camus illustrates these ideas in his essay The Myth of Sisyphus, about a man who is doomed to push a rock up a hill each day only to watch it roll back down again. Sisyphus becomes Camus' absurd hero when he recognizes the absurdity of his task, but decides to be happy in spite of it. The show directly references the myth of Sisyphus.
I have to push a boulder up a hill and then have it roll over me time and time again.
There's also the recurring symbol of the baboon jogging up the hill outside BoJack's house. Every day, he's running up that same hill.
It gets easier.
Huh?
Every day it gets a little easier.
Yeah?
But you gotta do it every day. That's the hard part.
At the end of season 3, BoJack comes face to face with the meaningless loop of his life in the young actress from Ethan Around.
I want to be like you.
Like me?
I want to be famous.
Oh no.
It happens that the stage set collapses. At the end of the awakening comes, in time, the consequence: suicide or recovery. Just as Camus describes, BoJack runs out of the stage set and begins to drive into nowhere. Driving has repeatedly served as a way for BoJack to try and escape the absurd. Maybe his own take on Secretariat's advice to run and don't look back. But when he releases the steering wheel, BoJack gives in, submitting himself to the absurd and to suicide. However, when he sees the wild horses, they represent for him the alternative. Embrace the absurd. Carry out your meaningless task and be happy in spite of it. They may be seen as absurd heroes, a group of horses who have embraced running purely for its own sake. Like Sisyphus, they run, carry out the meaningless task, and are happy anyway. BoJack has proven himself willing to give everything up. Maybe he's ready to follow Cuddly Whiskers' advice and finally start to become happy. Conclusion. The show does offer one possible solution to BoJack's struggle for meaning: family.
At our age, it's weird if you don't have a family.
Well, not for you.
No.
Because you've been busy.
Right.
With your career.
Sure.
When you pay attention to all the times BoJack watches horsing around, the scenes all revolve around the in-show family.
I've learned that when you're in a loving family, there's nothing wrong with a little horsing around.
During the first big bender, he has a vision of himself as a simple family man. BoJack's attempt to sleep with Penny at the end of season 2 illustrates how desperate he is to start over and choose the domestic life he could have had with Charlotte. The wild horses may represent more than just the absurd hero. They may also represent the herd and a sense of belonging that BoJack lacks. And with the teaser at the end of season 3, it seems the show is preparing to explore this theme of family much more. Though I hope it works out for him, something tells me that even family won't be able to fill the void. Hey guys, as always, thanks for watching. Real quick, if you're looking for another cool channel that explores your favorite movies, TV shows, and video games, then go check out Looper. From fun movie lists to hidden Easter eggs, Looper releases addictive new videos every day of the week. Click here to visit their channel page and subscribe. And if you've got cartoons on the mind, go check out their video on the untold truth of South Park. So go subscribe to Looper and tell him Wisecrack sent you. And finally, if you're interested in another cartoon about the ramifications of a godless universe, click on this plumbus to check out our video on the philosophy of Rick and Morty. Wubba lubba dub dub! Alright, enough from me, I've got another Purge video to work on. Thanks a lot, guys. Peace.